What's up, everyone? How are we doing? This is 60 Minute Suspension. My name is Amp. This is T-Dubs right next to me. T-Dubs, how you doing, man?
Yo, man, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's like you're literally sitting right next to me in the room. It's awesome. I love this.
Like right next to each other. We're like best friends.
Yeah,
like
man.
the two best friends that anybody could be.
We're the two best friends that anybody can have. Don't mute me. All right. So, anyways, welcome to today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. 60 Minute Suspension. Basically, we talk about all the news stories and sports that no one else really covers or kind of gives up on. And I say that with a lot of enthusiasm today because this first story that I want to start off with today, Tyler, really upsets the shit out of me. Are you upset?
I'm pretty upset, but honestly, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is happening with this guy? What is happening with his son? What is happening with his fiance? I don't get it. And you know, I don't understand the NFL. The NFL makes decisions. I don't understand law enforcement in this situation. There's a lot of it that is just to not be understood. And there's a lot of secrets, and there's a lot of stuff being held. And I get some stuff is confidential, but we'll get into it all. So I'm pretty upset to answer your question, I guess.
Very infuriating. I got a text message today from Tyler kind of finalizing the storyboard that we've created for Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill, if you haven't been keeping up with us on our show, he is the wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been an all-star for them for the past 3 years. He's been to the Pro Bowl 2016, 17, and 18. I guarantee he'll probably go this year because he's not getting suspended. And spoiler alert, basically he's not getting suspended at all during the regular season for whatever was going on between his child, his fiance, and himself. It's incredible, man. So basically, to kind of catch you up on the story, what happened was there was an audio recording that came out that was released or leaked to the media, and the media was really more of a local news station that got a hold of this audio. They released it. They let everyone know ahead of time, hey, we're going to release this, but you know, there's nothing you can do about it. When they released it, a lot of things are really uncomfortable about this. I'm going to kind of highlight probably the most incriminating / just terrifying part of this audio clip. It was like a 6-minute audio clip, but there's just a lot that Tyreek said and his fiance said, and they go back and forth. But this is kind of the transcript that kind of really, set me over the edge. And I know a lot of people did, but this is what it said. And Crystal is his fiance. So, Crystal, he is terrified of you. And when she says he is terrified of you, she is referencing their 3-year-old child. When I speak of this transcript, it's really out of context. So I'm trying to give you just the biggest highlight of this. Crystal goes, he is terrified of you, and you say that he respects you, but it's not respect. Tyreek, he respects me. Crystal, he is terrified of you. Tyreek, you need to be terrified of me too, bitch. That's why you can't keep a fucking man. Crystal, he started crying and you were like, shut up, stop crying. Context, their child is 3 years old. All right, continue. Tyreek, all right, she said he started crying and you were like, shut up, stop crying. Tyreek, right? Crystal, then he kept crying because he was scared. He's terrified. You grabbed onto him somehow, or he fell, one of the two. Tyreek, I didn't do nothing. Crystal, then why does he say daddy did it? Why? Okay, referencing why did daddy... What started even before this, the 3-year-old child basically went to the hospital with a broken arm, and their child said at school that daddy did it. He said it to a lot of people that his dad broke his arm. That's kind of how this whole thing started. All right, going back to the transcript, Crystal said...
So the son said it at school?
I believe he said it at school, and then also to the people who found out about his broken... So I'm guessing like either the nurses or someone. But yeah, the child was the one who was saying, daddy did it. Mm-hmm. Crystal then goes, and then Tyreek says, I didn't do nothing. Crystal says, then why does he say daddy did it? Why? Tyreek says, he says daddy does a lot of things. Crystal, a 3-year-old is not going to lie about what happened to his arm. That's kind of where the transcript kind of stops. Tyreek, if you go back, you can listen to the audio clip. So if you just Google Tyreek Hill, audio leak or however you want to word it, it's out there. So anyone can go listen to it. When you listen to it, it's definitely like she planned this. Crystal was the one who recorded it. You can tell in the audio. She probably recorded it with her phone. Tyreek obviously didn't know that she was recording because the way he talks to her throughout this whole thing it's weird, man. Like he's not aggressive to her. It's more of like a manipulative, terrifying style of talking. He's not necessarily yelling at her or anything. He's just like very calmly just giving her like these threats, like very subtle threats. He calls her a bitch a lot. He drops the F-bomb a lot. Context, he's a football player, so I get it. Like that mentality of being a football player and growing up in rough neighborhoods, like I get it. That's kind of how you talk. But he's talking to his fiance like this about his child. There's previous history between the two. She filed I guess like a domestic dispute, domestic violence charge on him. That never went through. He never got in trouble for that. That was back in 2014, like right before he got into the league. Nothing really came of that. And then in the recordings, he claims her for lying about that. He's like, you didn't ride with me back then. I know you're not riding with me now. And she was like, why are you trying to change the subject? Like he brings that up to change the subject about them talking about the 3-year-old child. And so he's deflecting off the topic of their child. So there's a lot of signs here that just like show an abusive parent. There's a lot of things where he just dodges the topic. And so that catches up to now. Okay, so Tyler sent me this article today about how the district attorney of Kansas City, context again, Tyreek Hill is a Kansas City Chief player. Like I told you before, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler for that city. He's a very young player. They have a really good quarterback. Tyreek Hill's basically bringing in more money for him through fantasy football numbers, through just recognition. I mean, he's a stud of an athlete. Like, if anyone wants to watch a primetime Kansas City game, they know exactly who Tyreek Hill is. And so he is a made name in that city. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league right now. So the district attorney of Kansas City, he declined the NFL of giving them any information about this case. What? Like,
that's crazy. Like, if my employer called, the sheriff's office to discuss legal matters about, I think that they have is there no right to that?
In Kansas City.
Just in Kansas City alone?
No, it's different for every state. So I kind of do some research on this. Kansas City's really lenient on these rules about like sharing public information. But the other issue is that their child is a 3-year-old. So it's a minor, basically. So legally, no one really has to share any information pertaining towards a minor case. That's the other issue.
Right.
But why?
That makes total sense. And also, like, health is also a thing that, that they have to disclose. Like, so the broken arm incident is something like you can't get the health records on that.
Right.
Unless it's, like, released by the patient, I assume.
Or the parents, or the guardian, whoever the guardian is. To give you clarification, too, also, the child is not either of these parents' custodies. Like, and then also on top of that, they have they have a pair of twins as well. So they have 3 kids. Yeah.
How old are the twins,
I think they're younger than the 3-year-old. I think. I could be wrong on that. That's just me kind of speculating on that. To give you more, okay, so in the recording, they talk about how they punish the child, right? So there's one point where Crystal talks about how, you pull out a belt on your kid. There's times where you tell him to move his arms from his chest open his chest up so you can punch him in the chest. This is a 3-year-old child. She says this. Tariq Hill's response is one word, right. That's what he says, right. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't say, I don't do that. And then he goes on and talks about how, yeah, I use the belt to teach him, to grow him up so that the white man doesn't hold him down, or like to teach him that these streets aren't, made for the black man. That's literally what he says in these transcripts. If you haven't had a chance to go listen to this, go listen to this. This is just incriminating, just terrible logic. She talks about how, like I said, opens up his chest. He literally punched him in the chest. He doesn't deny it. Like, he never says, I don't do that. He doesn't say, I don't do, I don't, whatever. I don't know how to say it. But it's freaking terrifying, man. Like, this guy should never have his kids back. I'm sorry. Like,
but can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Would you let them babysit your kids?
Well, I've thought about it. He's a superstar. So, no, of course not. No.
He's a very good football player, man.
No, I don't care. No, never.
And not only is he a good football player, he somehow was drafted when he was on probation. That's a pretty good feat. I say, the NFL trusts him enough. You gotta go ahead and let him babysit your kids.
No, that's not happening. That's not happening. So, long story short, Roger Goodell ended up not punishing him because he had no proof of anything. They didn't give him any evidence on the situation. They didn't tell him, how the kid broke his arm. They have no evidence except he said, she said, and the recording that, there's no evidence to it. It could have been a staged recording, which if that was a staged recording, those parents are sick and should be locked up in an insane asylum. So, I mean,
I think they're both crazy as fuck. I think they're both crazy as fuck. They both should be locked up in the same asylum, and I don't know why the state is helping them get back together and work out their relationship. It's craziness.
It's absolutely crazy. To give you closure on this, Coach Andy Reid came out with a statement, and I think it was today, actually. Yeah, I think it was today. He dropped this statement, and I quote, "We're comfortable with Tariq coming back here, and we look forward to bringing him back here and having an opportunity to get back to doing what he loves to do." Yeah, he said that today at Missouri Western State University. "We have the trust in Tariq, and we're going to go forward in a positive way." And I end quote that. So basically, Tyreek Hill is not going to be at training until they finally do full squad training practices, because he's an all-star, and that's what all-stars do. They don't show up until the very end. But, I mean, he's got the support of his coach. I can't get over it, man. Like, I can't.
So who are you mad at? Who are you mad at? Who are you?
That you open your child's arm, like you literally take a 3-year-old's arms. Tell him to move his arms away from his chest. Like, you're telling him, hey, open up your chest so I can punch you in your chest. You're a 3-year-old child. I need to teach you some life lessons.
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
And he's just right.
Okay.
Like.
Okay, I get it. We're mad at Tyreek Hill. We're pissed at his wife, Crystal. We feel sorry for the son, but who are we really, other than our disdain for Tyreek in this whole situation and all that, who are we really upset at?
Roger Goodell.
You could be upset at Roger Goodell.
City of Kansas City.
City of Kansas City. The Chiefs themselves. Yeah.
I mean, the other players, no one in the organization has come out and said anything against him. Like Adrian Peterson, like we were going to talk about him, we were thinking about it, but this is a good topic to bring up. Like, Adrian Peterson got in trouble for a situation like this before, and he was handed the hammer. Like, he openly talked about hitting his son with a switch and leaving marks and bruises on his son, and he got, penalized. On a recording,
right.
Like, Tariq didn't come out in public and say it, but on a recording, you hear him talk about punching his child in the chest. You hear him talk about slapping his kid with a belt. So, like, in my mind, it's like, it's basically him saying that he does it, so he should get punished. Like,
You like the thing is that the NFL is so inconsistent, and the thing is we're blowing our mind. This is like, man, this is crazy. This guy's kid's arm is broken, and it looks like it's his fault. And even though like there's still some craziness going on between him and his girlfriend or fiance, it still seems like it kind of falls on Tyreek's shoulder, you know. So not only that, so you're gonna allow this guy to play, but in the past, Roger Goodell, you know, you have suspended players like Ezekiel Elliott, Ben Roethlisberger, Jameis Winston, Kareem Hunt, Jimmy Smith of the Ravens, Nigel Bradham and T.J. Ward. All of these players never were arrested, never were charged, dismissed in pretrial intervention, all suspended. So what I'm saying is, if he wants to suspend somebody, he can suspend somebody, no matter what. If he wants to do it, he can do it, and he's not doing it. But why? Why not do it? He suspended players over, I think, you know, suspicion of drugs, rather than even like. It's just crazy. There's got to be some sort of like standard or code of conduct. I mean, I know there is a code of conduct, but there's got to be some sort of like, hey, we have to punish you. This has to be fixed.
Yeah.
You know, or just get out of the punishment game and let whoever is legally a citizen and able to play football. If they, you know, then you got to do it one way or the other. You can't just continue to just pick and choose who you want to punish. Punish Ezekiel Elliott this time, but don't punish Ezekiel Elliott that time. You know, let Kareem Hunt, like, granted, he did kick a woman, and, you know, whatever. There's a difference when you're called something that is super offensive to you and you react, and even if your reaction is completely wrong and, you know, it pains you, you still suspend Kareem Hunt, you know, but now you don't suspend Tyreek Hill. I'm at a loss for words as to why you can't figure out how to discipline your players.
Yeah.
You know? And why can't the Kansas City Police or the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office give over, you know, whatever the NFL is requesting? That sounds like home cooking to me, man.
That,
you know?
Yeah. That to me was a huge indicator that, you know, when they said they weren't going to hand anything over, that means that they found something. First off, because if they didn't find anything, they would have handed it over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it would make sense to hand it over if he was innocent. But they found something, and because I think what happened was someone was paid under the table, and we'll never know. We'll never know the facts about this. Someone was paid under the table to hide it, and that means, you know, you never break this out. You never let this loose. So, you know, probably what happened is him and his fiance worked out a settlement where, you know, hey, you know, we're both crazy. You know, it sucks that our son's our son, but, you know, we'll make it work. And, you know, I think that's how it happened, dude. You know, I think there is a conspiracy here because obviously they would have done something to help his situation. But because this story has been pushed under the rug so much, like, no one is talking about this. No one's talking about the story, man. Like, ESPN is not blowing up over this story. Like,
dude, remember when Robert Kraft got a hand job?
Yeah.
Like, they were going to suspend him. They were going to suspend him.
Everyone knew about Robert Kraft's and little handies. And then
should I not have said hand job?
But it's so frustrating. I feel so bad for this kid and their kids in general. I hope that they never get full custody of these kids. I hope there's someone always in the room with them to protect these kids. There's, like, I think I already said it, but there's one point where Crystal talks about how, you know, or Tariq says, you know, my kids love me when we're out in the public and everyone sees my kids. My kids are always saying they love me and we love you, Daddy. But then when we come home, they know what's up. They know what's real. They know they can't. They know Daddy don't play. I don't play. That's literally what he says. That's what he talks about. It's like, I don't play around. I'm not, I don't play around with these kids. Like, what? These are 3-year-old kids. Like, that's what they do. They're 3. Like, they shouldn't be learning about getting punched in the chest. They should be learning about, like, reading Rainbow. Like, this is just ridiculous. This is such a stupid situation. I feel so bad for the kids, man. Like, I can't describe to you how bad I feel for them. And karma, man. Karma. I wouldn't be surprised if game 1 ACL. I wouldn't be surprised.
Damn, you calling it?
I wouldn't be surprised, man.
Damn, you're calling it, huh?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Calling your shot.
I guarantee you some of those defensive players read the news and they don't feel the same way he does about how he handles his kids.
Jalen Ramsey playing him first week. He just had a baby. I wonder how he feels.
Dude.
I'm sure he probably doesn't have much of an opinion on it. But
he probably has other things, and he probably doesn't even know the story, honestly.
Yeah.
But anyways, all right, enough of that. Like we said in the title, or how we titled it.
This will probably be one of the last times we talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we really beat this one to death. We talked about it has so much content and just keeps developing. But now it looks like it's just by the wayside and nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah,
so
no one seems to care about the story. So we're just gonna move on. Hopefully the kids will be okay. Hopefully there's a happy ending somewhere. But anyways, so moving on. I watched this show on Netflix. It's called Last Chance U. T-Dubs, you said you only watched like one season.
I watched the first season. It was good. It was pretty good with John Franklin and there was another guy. I think 2 other guys maybe went to the league.
Yeah, there was Ollie.
Ollie, yeah. The defensive lineman.
Yep, I forgot who he plays for.
He was funny, man, but he was real dumb.
He was not smart.
So yeah. Now the show's down.
I caught up. Like, I'm caught up through all the seasons. I'm not going to spoil anything for people who actually do watch it, or if you enjoy the show. It's a good show.
You can spoil it for me. I don't care. Huh? You can spoil it for me. I don't care. I'll still watch it. Still enjoy it.
Sports show. There's not a whole lot you can spoil. They either win or they lose or they whatever. But whoever writes the show or produces it, however they edit it really well in a storytelling sense. And I mean, they talk about on the show, there's like over 70,000 hours of footage that these guys have to break down into like 8 episodes. So I mean, you're taking 70,000 hours and you're breaking them down to like basically 8 hours, 7 hours, depending on how long the episode is. It's pretty incredible. But anyways, the whole point, the only reason I bring that up is because this last season, recruiting became a really big issue near the end of the season. And they were talking about it, and they were talking about how they do it. They were talking about the tactics and, like, some of the kind of the hustling they have to do to get these kids. And to give you context of Last Chance U, the reason it's titled that is because it takes place in some of the most premium community colleges. They're called JUCOs. Basically, they're like colleges for D1 rejects. So, like, Tyler brought up Jonathan Franklin. Basically, he got suspended from FSU, got kicked out. He got kicked out of FSU. There was actually another guy that same season who got kicked out of FSU, and they ended up playing on the same team. But there's just a lot of players that either they can't stop smoking weed, they literally Grand Theft Auto. Some of these kids just can't keep their grades up. Whatever it is, but their talent is D1 talent, and they end up in these community colleges where they keep hope alive, basically. They keep hope that they'll make it to the NFL, and that's their only goal. That's their only concept.
Some of them do in these schools, like Janoris Jenkins is a product of it. He left Florida.
Cam Newton.
And went to
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton went to a community college, got back to Auburn.
Yeah.
And then killed it. But yeah, he went to a community college, and that was you're right. That's still the hope that they're looking for. It's not like they're instantly going to the NFL. Some people are looking to get back to a big school, and I think that's what like John Franklin was trying to do, which he did. He got to Auburn eventually.
He went back to Auburn. I don't think he ever started though.
He was trash, bro. He was so trash.
Bad. And then actually, our feel-good story, like I think a couple weeks ago, Dakota, I can't remember his last name, but he was a linebacker who was on season 3. He was on season 3, and he made a mistake and he robbed someone, like armed robbery, stole from someone, and then he got kicked out of, I want to say it was Mississippi State. He got kicked out of, and then he went to JUCO, found God, changed his life, and then they brought him back. They ended up bringing him back, or Texas A&M. I think it was Texas A&M. They ended up bringing him back, and he got drafted. He was like 240th pick or something like that, and he
almost Mr. Irrelevant.
He was right on the edge, but he got drafted. Which is cool.
Good for him.
So, anyways, Tyler, you actually almost got recruited. I know you sent out some film and stuff, and like, what was that process like? I know they weren't like D1s, but still, I mean, you went through.
I didn't have the treatment of some players, that's for sure. But it was a fun process, going to a couple combines here, kind of showing off your stuff, getting measured, just doing the best you can do to compete with others, and also, make your name. But at the same time, like I said, I didn't have the treatment like some of the others, but like you see some of these big time names, like you mentioned Cam Newton earlier. There's speculation of his father getting like $200,000 for him to go to Auburn. That's the kind of stuff I think we're hitting on. But like, my recruitment game was definitely not on the part of these guys.
Well, okay, so
but,
yeah, I wanted to bring it up because at the end of season 4, the coaches break down like how they try to recruit these players. And they're trying to find really standout athletes who kind of have no future academically. And so the coaches on the episode talk about how they're going to promise these kids an opportunity to the NFL. And they really praise and push that button on how they're going to get these kids to the NFL. Like, that's how they try to recruit all of these kids. These are statistics that I found on the NCAA, actual NCAA.org. And these are percentages from NCAA to major pro. Okay, these are actual statistics that last updated April 3rd, 2019. So these are literally on the dot percentages here. Okay, so for baseball, male baseball, the percentage from NCAA to major pro, 1.2% to make it pro. For women's, no, that was basketball. I'm sorry. That was basketball. For men's basketball, NCAA to pro is 1.2. Now, for baseball is a little bit different because they can go in the minors. They can go through all those different funnels to keep playing, to keep their process of playing going. So their actual percentage is a little bit higher. It's at 9.8 for baseball players. So you got to keep that in context when you're thinking the baseball players. But basketball,
and they play so many games. Also, there's a lot of roster rotation, so they call up people, send people back, it just happens a lot with baseball. So you can say, I made it to the pros, for like 2 weeks or something like that.
So men's basketball was 1.2%, and they actually give you the numbers of percentage or participants, and then the approximate number of draft eligible. So they tell you how many people went from who actually participated in NCAA to those who actually went for the draft. But I'm not going to go through those numbers. There's a lot of them. So women's basketball, you're at 9.9%. So not even 1%. You're at 0.9% to make it professionally as a women's basketball player from NCAA. Football.
And then you get $77,000.
Yeah, exactly. You can make $77,000 once you make pro for women's basketball. So here we go. Here's the big number. For a football player, let me just go through the whole list so you kind of give context to this. NCAA participants for football is the largest number out of all the sports. Out of baseball, basketball, hockey, football is the largest number. 73,557 players are in the NCAA. 73,557. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Approximately draft eligible would be 16,346. That's like a fraction of that number. It's huge.
And that's just draft eligible players. So that's just like seniors and juniors.
Exactly. Then you go to your draft picks in the NFL. The NFL gives out 256 picks. So let's kind of go backwards real quick. You have NCAA participants, actual players, 73,557 players, active roster. Well, not active roster, but they're actually like on a roster playing football. Your next one would be your draft eligible, like Tyler was saying, your seniors and your juniors, or basically anyone of age that can play. 16,346. Out of that 16,346, only 256 can get drafted. Wow. NCAA drafted players. Okay, so these are the players that get drafted out of the NCAA. 255. So that means out of that 256, one player is not an NCAA player. That means that there's your German players, your South American players, anyone from across the country who didn't go to college that they just found, or semi-pro players, whatever. So,
do you know?
percentage.
Do you know? Do you know how many roster spots there are in the NFL per year?
Total, no.
Given a 53-man roster, not including like practice squad, which is 8 players per team, so we can figure that out here in a second as well. But it's I think the math is 1,696 spots. So what did you say that number was earlier of NCAA players? The first number was like 70-something thousand.
73,557.
Yeah, whittle that all the way down to 1,696.
And so the percentage, so bringing this back to recruiting, that's where we were at.
Yeah.
The percentage of NCAA players to go major pro in NFL football, 1.6%.
1.6%.
So
crazy.
you have to take in context. Now, also, keep in mind, 73,557, not every single one of those players are thinking they're going pro. I want to make that clear, first off. To make that clear, not every one of those players think they're going to go pro, because that's every single player that's a participant in the NCAA. So that's your second string kickers, that's your second string, long snappers, stuff like that. Some of these rosters in the NCAA are well over 100 players on a roster. I mean, you also got to keep that in mind too when you say this. But when you dwindle it down, I mean, the draft eligible number is huge, 16,346. You have to imagine at least 14,000 of those kids think they're legitimately going to get drafted. Because I can only imagine not every senior thinks they're going to go to the NFL. So you just kind of take that number away a little bit, but it's still going to be massively high. And then Tyler with the number on the roster spots. I mean, dude, and you're not even counting practice squad because it doesn't count.
No, that's only eight more players per team. So, and then there's undrafted free agents. So, add 256 to. Oh wait, no, that's not the number. 256 plus 1696. So there's only 2,200 really 2,208 spots in the NFL per year.
So yeah.
So you're saying all this promise of NFL to these recruits is wrong.
It's bullshit, man. And it's kind of messed up. A lot of these.
Well, why do you think that? Do you think it's a promise that these kids will play in the NFL one day? You think these coaches are actually making these kids for real promises?
I think for the higher end athletes, I mean, obviously they're not doing it to every single player, obviously, but for those ones that they're trying to get full scholarships on, let's say an average, let's just do a big college, right? Your big colleges, right? They probably offer anywhere between 20 and 30 full ride scholarships for football players. I guarantee you, man, they at least, if not every one of those 20 players, more than half of them, they promise them, hey, this is your best opportunity to go to the NFL, or this is your gateway or your key to the NFL. This is how you get spotted by the NFL.
Well, they're not wrong though.
They're not wrong, but
They're not
also
wrong.
not right either. Like, I don't think they go out and they say, because like I'm kind of looking through some of these testimonials of coaches who used to be recruitment coaches. They talk about how they're supposed to build relationships with the families, the high school coaches. They talk about how they're trying to build basically a relationship with their churches, some of their closest friends. Like, these coaches will go as far as like texting their girlfriends, texting, old middle school coaches, mentors of these players to try and get them to come to these colleges. And more than half the time, they don't really talk about the academic side of it. They don't talk about why you're actually going to college. In my opinion, it's a little messed up. I got more numbers for you real quick, Tyler, before
Okay, I got a thought on that, but hit those numbers and then we'll circle back.
I know you got opinions, so I want to give you a chance to talk about it. But I want to throw some numbers at you. These are financial numbers, okay? This is between 2012 to 2017. This is kind of like a 5-year average of how much money a college spends in recruiting. Okay? Here we go. These are some of your largest numbers by far. Florida, the University of Florida spends in women recruiting $571,434.40. And the men's side, they spend $1,273,241. Whoo!
That's actually a lot lower than what I was expecting.
Florida State is on here as well. They spend $1,307,466.80 for
all these are lower, man. I think that I was expecting a lot higher.
You're good with these numbers?
I mean, the traveling alone they have to do. Like, coaches got to go to the West Coast on the regular. Dan Mullen has to fly out to the West Coast on the regular. Not only that, like, he's got to, sometimes he's got to he's got to wine and dine at some of the. While you're on the recruiting trail, you're also doing booster clubs. That's part of the recruiting as well. There's cost to it for sure. For sure, there's cost to it.
The leader,
and then you gotta, and then all these photographs that you gotta take. You see the new thing these days is just taking pictures in wherever you go recruiting. You take pictures in the uniform, pad it up. All these photo shoots. That shit costs money. It's crazy. You're right that it is a lot of money, but I honestly was expecting more. And they gotta house these kids when they bring them in on recruiting trips. They gotta get their tickets.
It's true. You're not wrong on that. Tennessee,
but it is unnecessary. Some of it is very unnecessary.
Tennessee leads in all of this. The University of Tennessee. It doesn't show on their field though. $1,920,789.80 for the male side. Wow. So you're saying that you don't feel like these are too high numbers? Like, you're saying that these feel accurate? I mean, and that's not. The scholarships, by the way.
Like I said, I think they're unnecessary. Yeah. I think that the recruiting weekends get stupid expensive for unnecessary reasons, probably. But as far as bringing in recruits and hosting recruits and doing that, which each recruit is allowed like 5 official visits, which that is of the school's money. They can come on their own whenever they want, but the official visit is when they're hosted by the school. And those they do it big. When you're trying to get a 5-star recruit, you're gonna put on a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I see what you're saying. Why are these universities dancing for these kids? It
just feels weird. I don't know. I don't know a good way of putting it without like ruining the process. I get it that they are trying to recruit the best athlete. I mean, I don't blame you. I really don't. It just, to me, it seems a little sketch in the way that they go about saying things to these students. Because I know when I watched The Last Chance U, a lot of these athletes talk about how they'll get 50, 60, 70 letters in the mail, and they're all talking about, the same thing, our campus is the best, blah, blah, blah. They'll get phone calls from coaches. They'll actually talk to the coaches on camera. And you'll listen to these coaches, man, and they just get really intimate with these players. They're like, oh, what is this guy telling you? Yeah, is that what he's saying? Yeah, no, man. Listen, this is what we'll do for you, and this is how we'll take care of you. And then, like, they'll cut to, like, 20 minutes later or 30 minutes later in the episode, and the guy's like, yeah, so the coach stopped talking to me. Like, he found out about, like, the shoulder injury, or he found out about, my past history or something like that, and he just won't talk to me anymore.
That's fucked up when the coach gives up on a player, and that does happen.
That happens a lot. Like
there was a story that came out recently of Coach McElwain at Florida pulling a player's scholarship after injury.
Man.
Because they wanted, because they want to use the scholarship elsewhere. That's fucked up. I think that's bullshit.
So,
So anyway, but going back to that NFL promise thing, I think you're looking at it as like the coach is saying, "Hey, you're going to the league. You got everything you need. Just go ahead and go." I'm looking at it like, "Hey, man, like you have the talent and your work ethic has put you in this moment, and I've noticed that, and it looks like you have the drive to get you to the NFL. It looks like you have that extra stuff. If you follow me and listen to what I'm teaching you, there's a very good shot of you getting into the NFL." I think they all understand the percentages and the chances and the numbers. I don't think they look at them like we look at them on the daily, but I'm sure all the coaches know, hey, I've met probably some of the coaches at Last Chance U has probably been like, hey, I've only put like 6 players in the league. I've coached 800 players probably.
See, but they don't say that. They don't say, the bigger number. They always say, the number that
because they're trying to inspire. They're trying to inspire them. They're not trying to be like, hey, come to our school and you got 1% chance of getting in the NFL. That's not inspiration.
I get
They're saying, come to our school.
I understand why.
Like,
and it's a business,
but
you're also messing with kids' emotions. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a scale. It's one of those things that I don't think there's a right answer for, because at the end of the day, I mean, these kids chose to play a sport that they want to excel in. And so, I mean, I don't want to take that from them. I don't want to, like, ruin that for them. I just don't want to see them get fucked over, I think, is my fear. And I don't think there's really a lot of regulations in recruiting, especially from the NCAA, that support them. Because then you have other issues like this where, like, if a player isn't playing, right, or if, like, he is a 5-star recruit, but then once he gets to the team and he hates the system, or he hates the coach, or, like, bullying, he's getting bullied or something, he has to wait a whole year until he can transfer. Like, there's systems in place to, like, I'm talking about the letter of intent, that, like, keep a player from moving on. And I think that's messed up,
I think they're working on changing that, and I wish they would expedite it pretty quickly. But I think I know they're talking about, like, hey, if a coach leaves, I think that player should be able to just go ahead and go wherever he wants, If you're, like, get there, you're a freshman, and then by the time you're a sophomore, the coach just dips out after promising you the NFL, I think you're right. I think you should just be able to go wherever you want, or wherever will take you, or wherever is best for you, and play however soon you want to play, or however soon you can compete to play,
I mean,
so
I don't know.
I've never liked that. I've never liked that wait a year rule. It's such a limited time, such a limited window for these athletes to really capitalize on who they are and make a brand of themselves and make a household name of themselves. To take a whole year away from a player when coaches get nothing after abandoning a contract, I've always hated that. Like, you're penalizing the kids who are just trying to get a better life or capitalize on their talents.
That's not okay.
So
I don't know. I think we got our points across. It's a system that needs to be fixed, but simultaneously, It's a rough.
Oh, there's holes. There's
man.
holes. Yeah, man, there's more holes in this system than Swiss cheese, bro.
All right, let's move on to our last topic today because we're going to need that full 15 minutes for this one. This is going to be a fun one. This is a report that comes out every year, from my understanding, right, Tyler?
Yeah, it comes out annually. It's a Forbes world's most valuable sports teams. They really only list the top 50, but I think they do. I think they pretty much list all the sports teams that are like basic franchises. So it's all over the world. It includes all sports, MLB, which is baseball, MLS, which is soccer, but you won't see them. You'll see more so like teams like Real Madrid or I don't know, Man U, Chelsea, teams like that on this list. See a lot of NFL teams. So we're kind of gonna walk through this and see how we feel about it, and see what surprises us. These are facts, these aren't opinions like that stupid ass fan poll that we did a couple weeks ago. These are real facts. These are what the teams are worth. So, NBA, like I said, NFL, all over the world. Let's do it.
Yeah, sorry. So 50 most valuable sports teams. What's pretty cool, the Jaguars made the list.
Yeah. That is pretty dope. So we'll start it down. We'll kind of hit the highlights all the way down from. We'll work our way down. So we'll go with number 50, New Orleans Saints. This one kind of surprised me. I thought they would be up higher. Didn't you?
I really did. I know. I was actually looking at their past, and the 2017 they broke the list. And they were at 1.75. It's really cool because you can go on this list and look at the history of it, and
yeah, there's like a graph and everything.
It's really well put together.
I know Forbes does a good job with all of their reporting. I love whatever Forbes puts out. I love it.
This is really cool, man. But so back in 2012, like the lowest of the 50 list didn't even break billions. We don't see the lowest number until 2015 break billions by the Minnesota and the Dallas Mavericks, who tie at 1.15 billion. This is a lot of money we're talking about here.
And now every team in the NBA and NFL is worth at least $1 billion.
Incredible, man! Like I can't even put it into words.
I know. Yeah. So like you were talking about a minute ago, Jags, our team, go Jags. Are 49th, which is great for us. I think they were 49th as well last year, or 50th, right on the cusp. They're worth $2.08 billion. A 0% increase, so they were worth the same last year as well. And I think it's a really cool thing, and I think, man, Shad Khan has done amazing things, because to think about it, I think we were talking about it earlier, he bought this team for $770 million. Which even at the time they were valued at $677 million. So he paid an extra $100 million for this team. He took them from $770 million, which at the time would be on this list of like 119 on this Forbes list. And now they're number 49th, and it's only been 2011 and 2019. So that's insane. That's only an 8-year span where he has absolutely changed. The Jags, he did a great job with London, of course. So he's got international pool coming in. He's doing a great job in the city of Jacksonville. They're really close on a lot J, which is one of the Jaguars' lots, but also like an underpass, and it's one of like the big tailgating spots. They're going to turn that into a lot of facilities. So they're just about to pass that. The city is just about to pass that. They're making a lot of cuts to JEA, JTA, and a lot of stuff. Anyways, that's city government stuff. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, and also just to reiterate, they're making $63 million income. Like they're operating.
That's their operating income.
So they're not losing money. They're actually making it back. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to lose money in the NFL, zero bit whatsoever. I don't. Yeah, and so Kansas City at 47. We'll talk about some highlights. Cardinals at 46 was a little bit of a surprise. And what do you think about Liverpool coming in at 45? They're the first soccer team we see.
They're the first soccer team, which is going to be interesting. I looked at this list earlier. I don't want to spoil any other ones. They're on the up and up. I know that they're doing pretty well. They were in the finals. I think they actually ended up winning it. The UEFA Cup, which is the Champions League Cup. They ended up winning that. So that was huge for them. And they're operating on an income also. So they're at 128 million income, so they're making profit. And then they changed 12% from last year. They're on the up and up, man. They got a good young team. Their team is young. So they're studs, man. They're doing really good.
And as long as you're winning, you're probably going to keep making money, So, first basketball team to make the list at 44 is the LA Clippers, owned by Steve Ballmer. And then we'll follow that up by going with the Dallas Mavericks at 43, owned by the Cubes. The Cubes. Mark Cuban. He is my favorite guy on Shark Tank. He's my
favorite.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And then Amp, what do you think about Arsenal at 42?
I mean, they're a popular team. I don't think they're really ever going to go anywhere. They'll probably always be on this list for a long time.
Honestly, though, I thought they would be higher.
I don't. They're not that good. I mean, they're good, but like in terms of speaking strictly football and like if you go deeper into how good teams are, they're not that good. I mean, they're kind of right in that. They're almost to being in the top 4 or 5 in the UEFA League, but again, they're still, like we said, winning cures everything. So, them, they just haven't been winning. They've just been, mediocre. They're not really bad or good. They just are there, and they have such a strong following. They'll never move. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Is they have a strong following, and I've always kind of correlated that to being valuable, But maybe not like they have such a strong following that in Jacksonville, I'm pretty sure they have like they're the only soccer team bar. They have like a couple bars that they have. I don't know of any other soccer team in Jacksonville or any other soccer team that has a representation in Jacksonville.
Has Chelsea.
Like has who? That makes sense. That makes sense.
Chelsea. There was another one. I don't want to waste our time on it, but yeah.
Yeah, we gotta get rolling.
You don't have to go on.
You got the Chargers.
You can kind of just peel through most of these.
Yeah, Chargers at 41. First baseball team is the New York Mets at 38. There was a bunch of ties, so there's going to be a jump from 41 to 38. Panthers 38. I think they just actually sold their team, so I know Jerry Richardson was kind of forced out. Houston Rockets come in. Anything in Houston is going to be valuable, so look out for that. Brooklyn Nets coming in basketball at 37. We have the AFC South rival Colts coming in. I also want to point out that the Titans didn't make this list. Only AFC South team did not make this list. Also, there was a bunch of teams that Jags actually beat out that was pretty impressive. So Jags are on the up and up. We talked about it a lot already, so I won't dwell on it. What's up?
Colts on here.
Jim Irsay. No news is good, or bad news is always get your name out there. So he's always doing coke to get his name out there.
All right.
Minnesota Vikings coming in at 35. Raiders was surprising to me, but I guess they're gaining value from going to Las Vegas.
I think they gained a little bit, yeah.
Their building alone is probably going to be $2 billion.
Miami on this list? Like, what?
Yeah.
There's no one ever at their games, ever. No one's ever at their games.
Yeah. Well, Stephen Ross is very, very rich. I don't know. Chelsea at 32.
And they're on the up and up. Chelsea's done really good. They're winning a lot. So, I mean, they're in the right place.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Seattle Seahawks, 31. Pittsburgh Steelers, 30th. I thought they would be higher. I thought they would be at least top 15, honestly. I mean, I guess I'm, maybe top 20 because of the world, But Pittsburgh they're valued at $2.58 billion.
So I gotta ask you, while we're going through this list and I'm looking at it, there's so many NFL teams. Is it because of the TV contracts?
Yes, and not only that, yes, and the viewership alone. I was reading a stat earlier that one of the teams, the top team on this list, in the NFL, or the top team on this list, actually had 9 of the top 50 viewerships in the world.
Wow.
So it's an NFL team. I guess we already kind of gave it away, but we're not going to say who it is. We'll get there. But comparatively, the Patriots had 4 of the top 50, and I think the rest of the NFL had maybe 5 or 6. But that's still a good portion of the top 50 most viewed things in the world. You know.
Crazy.
Hold on for me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. I'm gonna kind of roll through the list while you're doing your thing. You had the Steelers, you had the Ravens, you had Atlanta Falcons, Green Bay, Denver. We come to our next team, Manchester City. They're, again, another popular team that, people just kind of draw to. They really enjoy. So Manchester City is going to be a part of that list, kind of up there. Philadelphia, they just won the Super Bowl, so obviously they're going to be in the top 25. Boston Celtics, Houston, New York Jets at 21. Now, the New York Jets is interesting because you think, they suck, and they suck all the time, every time. But, it's first off, it's a New York market. So, right off the bat, they have more viewers than almost any state. And then...
Right, that's why I thought, New York Mets, and then I was like, oh, wait, it's New York, so...
So they're gonna, but they have an income, man. They have $130 million income. So that's probably from all those viewers. Chicago tied itself with the Bulls and the Bears. They're always gonna have fans. They're never gonna lose that. San Francisco.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What?
Oh, I was just saying that's pretty cool. They tied themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty fun, man. I wonder if those families, because it says the McCaskey family and Jerry Reindorfs. I wonder if they're like best friends. I wonder if they're like
probably
BFFs.
They're probably very good friends.
Just flying through this list here, we have the Giants, $3 billion value. Whew. Bayern Munich,
San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, San Francisco Giants.
Baseball.
Sorry, San Francisco Giants. Bayern Munich, another soccer team. Again, popular team. They're just. All these soccer teams on here that I'm looking at, they're just popular, man. They've been around for fucking ever. Forever. San Francisco 49ers, interesting. That's pretty high for them. Chicago Cubs, which is weird. Why would the Cubs be above the Bears and the Bulls? That's interesting.
Why would the Cubs, you said? Oh, man, the Cubs are just such a valued franchise for sure. They're close to the Red Sox, so.
Shout out to Brian. What's up, Brian? Good to see you, buddy. What's up, fools? That's what Brian Proctor said. All right. Washington Redskins at 14, tied with Los Angeles Rams, Boston Red Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, and...
Dodgers. Let's go, baby.
New York Giants at 9. Now we're busting in through the top 10. So your top 10, here we go. Starting at number 10, Los Angeles Dodgers, Tyler's team.
Let's go. Let's go. $3.3 billion.
New York Giants at 10. They're both tied there. Golden State Warriors obviously are going to be really high up on this list. They're just killing it.
Which I definitely had them 5, 6, 7 years ago. Were probably in the 70s in this list. You know what I mean? It's crazy. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about winning. Winning does it.
Does it, man? Los Angeles Lakers, they're going to be up there, obviously. But I'm surprised they haven't fallen off. But, with LeBron James being there, it makes sense.
Yeah.
New England Patriots at 7. Yep. Obvious. They're just never going to stop winning. I want to point this out there. Their operating income is $235 million. That's crazy. That's buku bucks, dude. Manchester United is going to be your first soccer team in the top 10. Dude, if you don't know who Manchester United is, you don't know sports. They're one of the most recognizable teams in soccer, so they should be in the top 10 just by default on that. New York Knicks is at 5. That's impressive for a team that, is okay.
Yeah.
So then Barcelona, here we go. So these next two,
This is interesting though. I want you to pay attention to Barcelona.
So Barcelona, they're at their value's at $402.02 billion. They actually went down a percentage, so they're at negative percent change. So they actually went down, and their operating income is negative 37 million. There's a lot of reasons for that. So in soccer, when you transfer a player or you trade, it's not really, you don't really trade players in soccer. It's more of you actually pay for their contract. So you pay to finish out their contract at the other place, and then you pay for their new contract at the new place, but then you have to pay for the transfer fee because every league, for some reason, has a transfer fee. It's the stupidest thing ever. They have to pay for the transition from point A to their team. So it's a stupid process. But they went through a lot of transfers, and they're actually bringing back a really popular player, and they're spending a stupid amount of money on players. They didn't have the best of the year. They made it to the finals for the UEFA, and they lost really bad. Like, they were killing Liverpool. They were just absolutely demolishing them. And basically how soccer works, we don't have enough time. Basically, they really messed up. They messed up at the last game. And so they're in a lot of trouble with that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fix that. So Real Madrid at number 3, they're valued at $4.24 million, and they
billion.
And they increased 4% from last year. So that's really good. And they're operating at $112 million. Crazy. All right, so these last two, I mean, it makes sense. It just makes sense. The New York Yankees are your second highest valued team at $4.6 billion. And this is a crazy. They have a 15% change from last year. That's what? I didn't think it'd get any bigger, and it did. But their operating value is only at $30 million. So
it's different in baseball.
Interesting numbers there. All right, and your number one winner, this guy is killing it with the income, but he's also killing it with value at an even $5 billion value. The Dallas Cowboys, a.k.a. supposed America's team, $5 billion. And not only that, Tyler was kind of holding this one in. I'll let you tell him. They've been doing this for how many years now?
They've been number one for about 4 straight years as far as value.
4 straight
that Forbes has them rated, and they've been in the top almost all the time. And I tell you, I really got to point. We make fun of Jerry Jones all the time, the Arkansas boy. But dude is an entrepreneur. Dude has vision. He changes the game. He really knows how to invest in things like stadiums. Like, he made a stadium for $2 billion, and it is a feature of a lot of things. He then made a company that manages stadiums. So he does a lot of things. He was the first to do like advertisement within the stadium. So he does a lot of stuff to make money, and he's an innovator. But we make fun of him a lot. But he knows what he's doing.
His operating income, $365 million. Yo, Jerry, help your brother out, man. Come on, dude. Wow.
That's crazy.
$365 million. Dude, I don't even need $1 million, Jerry. Just like throw me a quick $50,000. Just throw me a $50,000 and I'm good. Incredible, dude. Absolutely incredible. These are just like outer space numbers.
For sure.
They're only going to get higher. Sure. That's what's crazy. They're only going to get higher.
I know.
I don't know how I'm going to survive. So, anyways, T-Dubs, that's our time. You got any last minute things?
No, I loved the show tonight. Good stuff. Good topics. Well, some of them went down as we're going to have, but that's just what it is. That's what we talk about. Hopefully, there's a lot of lives that will be changed, so we can talk about a lot of positive stuff for here on out. But if you want to go ahead and follow me on theturfsports.com, I write there for them. Head NFL writer. Got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Of course, training camp's coming up this week, so going to be some good stuff coming. You can follow me elsewhere on Facebook, Tyler Williams. You can follow me on Instagram at TW58. You can follow me on Twitter at TW5890. So, holler at me. Good show, Amp.
Yeah, good stuff as always. Just to give you some cool stuff, we got 2 new shows coming out in the second week of August. I'm really excited about these guys. They're local Orlando guys. They're established podcasts. Make sure you stay tuned for that. These guys are a little bit rough around the edges. They don't hold any words back, but neither do we. So it's going to be interesting to see how that moves forward. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a great time. Hopefully increase some more viewers here at Amplified Network. We thank you guys so much for everything. My name's Amp. That's T-Dubs.
Yo.
And, yeah, sweet. There it is. And we're out. See you guys.